All right, we're live.
Down on me.
We're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on, welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you here on this Tuesday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always. Kevin Brockway from CNHI Paper sitting in. Mike DeCourcia joining us today, as will Chronic Hoosier. We got plenty to talk about. We got football coming up, basketball coming up. Kevin, we got a lot to get to, man.
Yeah, and, I was in beautiful Columbus on Saturday. First time in that stadium, Ohio Stadium, historic stadium, and really nice press box in there, too. But unfortunately, not the result that the Hoosier fans were looking for. But I think, when you're down 35-7, you're probably thinking, if you're an Indiana fan, let's make a run here. Let's make this, if we come up a little short, let's make this at least respectable. So that, down the road, if something crazy happens, we're still in the mix to either play in the Big Ten title game or, go to a quality bowl. And I think they did that. Now you move forward and you don't let it, dispirit you. And I think from this group, I don't see that happening. I see this team, certainly you've got Maryland this week coming off that 2-week COVID break. But it's a team that talent wise, although Maryland's got some decent players offensively, but talent and depth-wise, Indiana, you're the better team, and you handle business this week.
Yeah, and defensively, I think that Maryland's a little short there. But, yeah, Indiana, man, this is not going to be their year for the college football playoffs, but it is going to get them into the conversation later because Indiana's got an opportunity. They come back as they beat Maryland, and then if you go to Wisconsin and you beat Wisconsin, and then you go and you beat Purdue, and the crossover game likely going to be against Iowa. And then you beat, to me, the best team in the Big Ten West right now, an Iowa team, the way they're playing. That's going to put Indiana way back up, close to that conversation, but not in that conversation yet. People are not going to, they're not going to put them in there this year. Next year, I'm telling you, this entire Indiana team can come back. So you could be looking at a college football playoff team next season. No doubt. You're going to have Michael Penix, who is going to be deep into the Heisman conversation next season. And possibly by the end of this year, Kevin, if his statistics continue to pile up, you can't keep him out of the conversation.
Well, you're going to lose Ty Freifogel probably because of the fact that, he's a senior. And while, everyone can come back, I think Freifogel's stock is such now where he will probably go. And you got to wonder about Penix's stock, too. You got to worry a little bit about that because this is his third year. He can declare for the NFL draft, and maybe people will be in his ear. But I do think that, the odds are it is a quarterback-heavy draft this year with Fields and Trevor Lawrence. Maybe if you're Penix, a smart play is to wait one more year and, like I said, have that Heisman consideration and come back for your teammates and try to do something really special. And the 2022 college playoff national championship is in Indianapolis. I mean, how cool would that be if, you can dream a little bit. If Indiana has that, breakthrough season next season and builds off what they did this year and wins the Big Ten and, gets in the Final Four and plays that national championship in Lucas Oil Stadium, and you hope by then 2022 fans will be back. I mean, that would be a crazy atmosphere.
Nuts, and it's definitely legitly possible. Ohio State, they're going to lose a ton of guys to the draft, but yeah, that's it's crazy dreaming, but it's a legitimate dream. I mean, Tom Allen has really done a marvelous job. Well, he's done a crazy job. It's nuts what he has done. But the attention he's getting, man, oh man, that's going to impact recruiting very quickly. When you have every single person across the board, you got ABC News, Booger McFarland, just everybody commenting on the job that Tom Allen's doing. They're all selling Indiana University for Tom Allen. and that success that he's having, that's just a winning combination.
Yeah, and Rick Bozich had a really good piece today in WRDB about, building the brand and how, that's what Tom Allen is developing more than a program and a brand. I think that kind of goes hand in hand. And I think that, with Tom, we've discussed this before. I think it's a genuine thing. I don't think it's kind of hokey like, PJ Fleck and Row the Boat or whatever. I think this is really who Tom is. And it'll pay dividends. It's interesting. This year is a smaller class in recruiting, and you've got a lot of commitments already lined up. But 2022, that's going to be pretty interesting. 2021 and 2022 class, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this spills over in terms of getting quality players, not just from the state but throughout the country.
Yeah, PJ Fleck, interesting, and not knocking on PJ Fleck, but the roll the boat thing, cool and all, but it's not. It's catchy. It's kitschy. It's not from the heart. I don't think it's from the heart. Tom Allen, everything Tom Allen is doing is from the heart, deep from the heart. It's real, and it impacts every player on his team. Roll the boat does not impact the lives of, to my knowledge, the players on that Minnesota team. This is impacting these guys' lives. They are really, it's amazing. It's amazing to watch an entire group of people like that just come into something that's all positive. Now, we've seen it, crazy people in the past, but it's neat to see it, and it's awesome to see it work. That's the thing. To see it work, that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Fleck will tell you row the boat, as a perseverance lesson for life or what have you. But I think the same can be said for, Tom Allen's slogan, LEO. I mean, it's something, and he's talked a lot about, going on and leading families, as young men. I mean, these people, that's one of the lessons that he's trying to, teach that goes beyond football. So, I think players see that. I think they gravitate to that. I think nowadays, more than ever, you have to build a culture as a coach where the players know that you care genuinely about them. We've seen so many scandals the last 2 decades, player abuse scandals, situations like that. There has to be a partnership there, and players have higher expectations in terms of what they want out of a college football experience, and a lot of them want to go to the NFL. But people also want to know, for those that don't make it, and 98% don't, that they're going to be prepared for life after football. And I think Tom Allen is one of those guys that does that. And they want their experience, they want their 4 or 5 year experience on campus to be worthwhile and pleasant, and not be, you can be coached hard, but you don't want to be demeaned. And that's the fine line, you know what I mean? And I think Tom Allen and his staff have that fine line where you can coach guys hard, but you're not going to demean them, and you're not going to, do things that, hurt the dignity of the player. And I think that's something that, you really have to have in this day and age, because if you do not, it will get out. We're seeing that more and more often. I mean, players aren't going to take it anymore.
Absolutely. Hey, on the basketball side, Indiana's first opponent opening the season tomorrow night, Tennessee Tech, coached by a former Kentucky player, John Pelfrey, announced yesterday he's COVID positive. Won't be coaching the game. Kind of weird, but the game is going to go on. But, man, that's a little odd that you're going to open your season against a team without their coach.
Yeah, and, it's interesting because I know Coach Pels from when he was an assistant at Florida, and I reached out to Tennessee Tech and got the email late last night that he had tested positive, and the assistant coach is going to come over with the team. The game is on. So I guess that's the good news, is that, with regards to contact tracing and so much, we've seen so much all over the country. Florida basketball team isn't going to start on time. Their, season is paused. Number of programs throughout the country, seasons are paused, games postponed. So I think for Indiana to get this game in certainly is a positive. And the fact that I think you need this kind of game, before what you're facing in the Asheville, North Carolina Maui Classic, where you've got 3 big boy opponents coming up, next week. it's good to kind of have that one game of action to kind of feel yourself out and play different guys and get an idea for a rotation, and Archie talked even about, they've had one inter-squad scrimmage. Archie talked about last night on his radio show with Don Fisher, and he's even concerned about game shape at this point. But I think he thinks, and he's sure that a lot of teams are probably in the same boat in that regard.
Well, we'll find out if they are or not. That's going to be the key. How much pressure is Archie under this year? Not just because of what Tom Allen is doing, but what Tom Allen is doing is definitely going to impact that, because you've taken a program that was unchangeable, a program that was impossible to bring about, and he brought it about. On the other hand, you've got a basketball program that is in the middle of the state that produces the greatest talent in the country, and yet mired in mediocrity in year 4. Pressure is going to start mounting this season, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think so, Jim. And I think it's, this is a basketball program. People talk about this basketball program being in the wilderness. 2002 obviously was the last Final Four year. But let's not forget, Tom Crean, a few Sweet 16 years. Obviously, the win over number 1 Kentucky in 2012 with that super.
Well, they were ranked number 1 in the country. It's not like they've been.
So Crean had some success, and it kind of soured at the end. And Archie's situation right now is, there is a trajectory upward, but it's been a slow upward trajectory. It hasn't been that kind of rapid upward trajectory that you hope. They went from 17 to 19 to 20 wins. So,
if you look at how you finish in the Big Ten, it's not been an upward trajectory. It's been a downward trajectory.
9 from what did they have? I thought they were 8-12 in 2019. They're 9-11 in 2020.
Yeah, it's just been up and down. But last year they were back to 9th. It's just, there's no growth. It is complete mediocrity. It's just a flat line.
Well, let's be honest. The league probably a little better in 2000.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, in 2019 than it was in 2018. So, like I said, it's not what fans want. Let's put it that way. It's not going at the rate that fans want it to go. So this has got to be the year where you hope you see that upward growth. But listen, it's a tough Big Ten again. Desunu and Coburn coming back at Illinois, Luka Garza coming back at Iowa. Rutgers bringing a lot of their team back, and Geo Baker, a guy that makes a lot of big shots. Wisconsin with Nate Rivers. Michigan with Isaiah Livers, so many guys that you have, and so many guys that could have probably gotten the NBA draft and didn't.
Normally would have had this not been the COVID year. We saw Luka Garza and Desomi and all those guys from Illinois. They definitely that COVID has changed the Big Ten. It has made the Big Ten the juggernaut this season that it is going to be.
So I do think that it's going to be hard. Listen, and this is really going to test Archie's chops and his staff's chops. And, you bring in a guy like Kenya Hunter to replace Bridger Flint. We'll see what kind of impact that has in terms of, development.
Juwan Howard's having recruiting success at Michigan. That's the problem. You're seeing all these other programs have success, have recruiting success. Rutgers is 5th. That's not happening in Bloomington, boys. You're flatlined. You're not. There is not an upward trajectory that I see personally. I just don't see an upward trajectory. It's just been flat, and I don't see that changing this season.
Mason Miller, losing out on him, certainly disappointing, and I think it's going to be an interesting spring in terms of recruiting. And if you lose a guy like Trace Jackson Davis, what do you do? Do you dip into the transfer market? How do you address that? So a lot of
we got to hit a quick break. Let's pick up on this when we come back, Kevin. We got to hit a quick break. Mike DeCourcy is going to come on next from the Sporting News. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Tuesday. We're back with more right after this. Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. I'm bad about that. I shouldn't have let that go into 18.
Just an FYI, I can't mute you during breaks.
Gotcha. Thank you. Hey, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
I am seeing Sharon.
Oh.
She's in town.
We're live, don't forget. So don't be dirty talking. I'm kidding.
Hey, Mike just joined.
Hey, Mike, how are you, sir?
Gentlemen, how are you?
Wonderful. Good. How is your Thanksgiving week going?
So far, so good.
Hey, Jim, since we aren't doing a show on Thanksgiving, does that mean I have to do a makeup show?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think anybody cares on Thanksgiving, to be honest with you. They're eating. They're going to stuff their face and watch football and have fun.
I didn't know if the radio station wanted something or not.
Well, no, they have a game. That's the biggest reason we're not doing a show. I'm grateful because I would never take off.
Yeah, Mike gets to watch the Steelers on Thanksgiving.
Oh, the Steelers? I didn't realize the Steelers were playing on Thanksgiving this year.
Thanksgiving night against the Ravens.
Oh my gosh. There's no way. Oh, I think they're better than they are, but I think they lose that game just because they're undefeated. It's like, man, how long were they going to go? That's a little bit of surprise. I did not think the Steelers were going to be the undefeated team this year.
No, I have to say I did not expect that either. But I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, it's not that it's not reasonable. It's just the NFL. You don't think that, I guess.
Right. Oh, yeah, no question.
So I guess through Shula passing away this year, I'm trying to figure out how many Dolphins are left from that 72 team that, they pop the champagne every time the last undefeated team loses.
Oh, they still have
Zaka.
And
Mercury Morris.
I think he's still with us, isn't he?
I don't remember if he.
No, I have to look it up.
It was great on the radio down in South Florida. It's sad he died about 8 years ago. It was Jim Mandich. He was so good.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah, he was great. The Mad Dog. Yeah, he was on QAM in Miami, and I love listening to him. He was really good. And I met him at the Orange Bowl in 2008. Really nice guy, too. Yeah,
7 alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50
Every time
years.
I hear this commercial, it makes me want to learn how to play the accordion.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Can't you see? Can't you see?
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat coming to you on this Tuesday. We just did a Tom Allen on the roster and upgraded it. Mike DeCourcy joining us now. How are you, sir?
I am very well, Jim. How are you?
Cannot complain. Of course, Kevin Brockway sitting in with us this week, or today as well, as always. As Thanksgiving week, little short week. We're talking in the break. I didn't realize the Steelers, Mike's a big Steelers fan, they're playing on Thanksgiving this year, Thanksgiving night against the Ravens. Man, that's must-see TV right there.
There was a little bit of concern yesterday afternoon when the Ravens shut down their facility because they had some COVID concerns. By the end of the day, though, they reopened and announced that 2 players, including former Buckeye J.K. Dobbins, have tested positive, and then 1 additional player will be inactive because of contact tracing, is on the COVID list. So, wish the best to them health-wise. Hope it's a speedy recovery for the 2 players. But I think the game now will go forward.
Man, you got to be stoked. I did not expect the Steelers to be 9-0, 10-0, wherever they are right now, undefeated this deep into the season.
Yeah, I don't think anybody did. And the one thing that they've done really well is just focus on trying to win each game. And that's the old cliche. And I kind of made fun of Mike Tomlin yesterday because he was asked about that whole undefeated thing. And he said, we're just trying to go 1-0 this week. And I'm like, hold on, coach. You played on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
You're playing again on Thursday. You got to be 2-0 this week. This is 1 week in which you cannot just go 1-0.
Absolutely. But, fun year for them. And then the Colts, big win on Sunday. They beat the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. That was a big win for them, a little surprising. But the way they won that game, that's I'm sure that made a lot of Colts fans happy.
They did a great job in that game. Absolutely. disrupted Aaron Rodgers on multiple occasions. It's a terrific defense, obviously, and they were able to advance the ball and score on the Ravens. The one of the reasons why I don't have great confidence and maybe any confidence that the Steelers will finish undefeated. That why it's not a concern is because they still have to play the Ravens on Thursday, and they have to play the Colts down the road, and they have a game against the Browns and one where they have to go to Buffalo. So there's no doubt in my mind that they'll lose at some point. My hope is just that they can stay a step or a half step ahead of Kansas City and get the bye that goes to the number one AFC seed. It's a real challenge with what KC has. They're terrific, but that's really the Colts and the Ravens and the Browns and the Bills. Somebody's going to beat the Steelers at some point.
You mentioned Baltimore and the potential COVID issue, but how about Florida State and Clemson and Dabo Sweeney and Mike Norvell? Their game canceled last week because Florida State canceled at the last second, which I found that was a little shocking that came so late. But a little bickering going back and forth between those guys, which is silly. Dabo's not exactly making himself look great with this, and then midst of numbers spiking, but just kind of weird to see those guys complaining about that in this time.
Yeah, I don't think Dabo is covering himself in any glory here. There's the ability to perform and to behave with class, and I just don't see that from him on many occasions. He tries to present himself in a certain light and then reveals what he really is just about every opportunity. I'm not a fan of his approach at all. There's no question he is a great football coach. He does a magnificent job with turning out great football teams and great football players. But I don't admire the way he comports himself publicly. Sometimes I think when you put somebody on stage as often as a football coach is, they reveal who they are. And this whole circumstance was a difficult one. It's certainly one that is specific to the COVID-19 era, so to speak. The two medical staffs did not agree with each other on a particular circumstance, and so they chose not to play the game. And I don't think it needs to go much farther than that. It's an inconvenience, certainly, for Clemson, and I can understand why Clemson would be upset that they would transport their entire operation down to Tallahassee and then not be able to compete. I'm sure that was a massive inconvenience. And if you want to complain about the inconvenience, I get that. But they didn't stop there.
Yeah, it was. It's rather silly, but and you talk about revealing yourself, character. Tom Allen, how about the character that we continue to see revealed for him and what it has done? The shout outs he's getting from across the country. We talked earlier. Kevin mentioned that Rick Bozich had a nice piece on Tom this morning. All the different people from the different walks of life that it's crossing, and I kind of used. And I didn't mean, I'm not trying to throw PJ Fleck under the bus at all, or under the boat rather. But like different.
Oh my God!
Roll the boat,
great. Jim. You should just take a few moments here and bask in the glory of that. That was tremendous.
I'm gonna have to write that one down and catch a keeper, but it's just doesn't come across as genuine. You can tell Tom Allen is living, breathing, sleeping. All of that, LEO, doesn't matter. He's all the players. You can tell it, and it comes across, and it's just amazing to see. And the transformation has been amazing to see.
Yeah, I know. Part of what he said was we didn't come here to lose close, and they didn't. But once you get out of there, like you got to say, hey, man, look what we just did. We were getting handled by a great football team, and we didn't do what Indiana would have done in maybe 9 out of 10 seasons or 49 out of 50 seasons. We did what this Indiana team is going to do, and what future Indiana teams maybe. The goal is to do what to compete and to not relent and to make the other team uncomfortable, and then eventually they've already won such games this year, but eventually maybe you take out one of the top 3, 4, 5 teams in the country. And so I agreed with much of what he said in that post game, but I do think that you have to step back and say that what happened on Saturday in Columbus, especially in the sport of college football, where style points do matter, they matter both in the outcome of the season and in the way you go about continuing to build and address your roster. I think that was an enormous step forward for Indiana football, even though they weren't able to win. Because they were out, they were down on the canvas, and they got back up, and they fought back, and they did not necessarily win the fight, but the other team knew they were in that fight. And for a lot of the games that Ohio State's great teams have played over the last half decade, they got through the game and felt like they weren't in a fight at all. And that's the standard at Ohio State. On Saturday, I mean, they had to fight for every inch of the turf at Ohio Stadium, and they were fortunate to get out of there with a victory.
I agree, Mike. And, from being there, when you looked at the first half for Indiana, I mean, there were a lot of self-inflicted mistakes. It wasn't necessarily Ohio State forcing Indiana into some bad things in the first half to get in that hole. But obviously, Ohio State's physicality in the run game kind of took its toll in the second quarter and into that first drive of the third quarter. But once Indiana kind of figured that out and went toe-to-toe with them a little bit, and, Penix started, figured out that he could get Freifogel on some big plays downfield, it turned. And, there weren't any fans in the stands to be nervous, but you could sense on the sideline Ohio State, definitely felt some nerves there in the second half.
No question. And Michael was just outstanding. And yet you're starting to see some conversation relative to him and the Heisman Trophy, and I think that's absolutely warranted. 100%. He has played like a Heisman candidate this year. Now, whether or not he gets the trophy, I mean, you got to climb over Trevor Lawrence, and that's a very difficult thing to do. But he should be conversed about that. And if I don't have a ballot any longer, I haven't had one for a long time. But I mean, I would very strongly consider it. You get 3 positions if you're a Heisman balloter. You get 3 positions, 1, 2, 3. That's how it's done. And then they often take 5 people to New York. I don't think that's really going to this year. I think it's going to be 5 people on a Zoom call, maybe. And I've often quibbled with the fact that they haven't always taken 5. I think you should always have 5. I think it's the opportunity to be there and be a part of that. If you're the 5th best player in college football, you ought to be there. And again, like I said, this year there'd probably just be 5 people on a Zoom call, but the chance to even be mentioned in that company, I think you absolutely should have that. And I think he's very close to that level, whether it's 6th or 4th or whatever it might be. He's in that ballpark. That throw again on the sideline of Michigan State, one of the best throws I've seen in college football this year by anybody. And there were several on Saturday that were elite.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's making NFL level throws right now. And that's everybody knows about Trevor Lawrence and they know about Justin Fields, but the country is really quickly finding out about Michael Penix because they keep throwing those statistics out there. And one that jumped off the page at me yesterday was Pro Football Focus was the yards under pressure. And there was a list of 3 quarterbacks. The third was Patrick Mahomes in 2016. The second was Patrick Mahomes, and the first was Michael Penix. That's pretty impressive when you're on that kind of a list.
Absolutely. He's having a phenomenal year. And I do think it'll either be Fields or Lawrence that ends up with the Heisman. And they're both fantastic players, and whichever one gets it will deserve it. But the young man at Florida, and you obviously can speak to this very well, Kevin. He's a terrific player, but I don't know. I haven't seen any plays from him that equal the most difficult throws and completions that Michael Penix has been able to put on film this year.
Yeah, Trask is a guy that you could make an argument system. Dan Mullen has put him in good positions. But the one thing I'll say about Trask, he's highly accurate and he puts throws in good windows. But I think with Trask, and don't forget about Mac Jones at Alabama, too. I think that SEC title game will be interesting because it looks like it's going to be Alabama, Florida in terms of, if there's some big plays made in that game, that could boost their potential resume in the Heisman conversation. So I think both those guys will be in the mix. But I think Fields hurt his candidacy against Indiana, to be honest with you. I thought he made some, he did make some dynamic running plays, but he also made some bad throws and some bad decisions too. But if you're giving kind of like a lifetime achievement award, right, or a college football career award, I would think Lawrence would be the favorite, even though he hasn't had the games this year, because of being out with COVID and so forth, and some of the other situations in the ACC. To compile the numbers that he has in the past.
Yeah, you're 100% right on there, because if he'd had that Notre Dame game, prime time opportunity to really showcase what he's capable of doing against a team that's competitive for a spot in the college football playoff, that would have been a real great moment for him. So the voting will be interesting this year, especially considering some people will complete 10, 11 games, and some people might be fortunate to get 7 before they ballot. But it will only be, whatever it is, it will only be the second most interesting election of 2020.
Looking forward to it. Hey, it's a big Thanksgiving week. What are your Thanksgiving plans, Mike?
We will be home. We have food ordered from Maggiano's, which does a really nice job on Thanksgiving. We've been there a couple of times on Thanksgiving. This year we're going to take the food home and eat it here, as recommended by the CDC. We're following all the guidelines. I'll try to get my food digested in advance of the Steelers game. That's going to be a challenge. That may be the biggest challenge of Thursday. But we'll do that. And then, hey, you know what else? I'm going to be watching college hoops, man, and I am very excited about that. There are people out there who are just haranguing the college basketball season on Twitter, in articles. A particular coach who used to coach at Louisville has been on a soapbox saying they shouldn't be playing now. Look, it's difficult. I get that. There are challenges. But I strongly believe that the right thing to do is play while the students are off campus. And that will be the case pretty much today. Pretty much everybody's going home today, and they will February not be back for a while. Exactly. So hopefully it'll all come off safely. There will be disruptions, but I don't think that the people who are campaigning against college basketball are doing themselves any favor. I don't think that I don't think they're on the right side of this issue.
No, I agree. You got to give yourself as much time as possible. I think the Big Ten is certainly attesting to that. Man, thank you so much, Mike. I wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving holiday this year, man.
Happy Thanksgiving to you guys and to everyone in the audience, and we'll look forward to talking college hoops again next week.
Thank you so much. The great Mike DeCourcy joining us from Fox BTN and the Sporting News. We appreciate him as he joins us each and every week. Kevin, always fun to have him on, man. But he's right. It's going to be a fun weekend of sports, man. There's a lot, and I'm glad that college basketball is a part of it. Tomorrow night, we get to start with Indiana. That's going to be weird, and we'll talk more about that when we come back. But being one of, 20 people in Assembly Hall is going to be a very, very weird experience.
Yeah, the sounds of silence, and we're used to that now with football too. Although football, even they have family and friends in the stands, but with basketball inside that arena, what Assembly Hall is, when it's full or close to full, it's gonna be interesting. It'll be interesting too for the players in terms of in the basketball environment, bringing your own juice. But maybe it'll help on the road, I think, with certain environments, going into places where you're not going to be as intimidated from the crowd, which will be interesting. And listen, Indiana was a team that struggled on the road last year. It was one of their problems, 2-8 away from, in true road games away from Assembly Hall.
Hey, you can hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. When we come back, we've got a question in from, I lost it. I can't get it pulled up. Ryan, what do Kevin and I think about IU basketball's need to get over the hump? We'll talk about that a lot more when we come back. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this.
You can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Chronic's on the phone, so I'll give him a call here in about 2 minutes or so.
Okay, thank you, sir. Northeastern has canceled games and practices for all winter sports through December 18th.
Well,
John Feinstein says, wow, the trend here is not good. Well, that's Northeast. You all stay up there. So you won't be going home, will you?
no.
Christmas or nothing?
Nope.
Get COVID. So where's your girl coming in?
Indianapolis,
Live,
yeah.
forget.
Indianapolis,
She's coming in from Colorado. Okay, cool.
Yeah. She's actually here.
Very
She's
nice.
here since Saturday. So.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yep.
This is busy. We got the basketball game tomorrow night, and then Thanksgiving, and then back for the football game.
I know it's gonna be another nuts week.
And then when's Maui start? Next
Monday.
Monday.
Monday they play Providence. Yeah, they play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday's an afternoon game. Hopefully they'll all be afternoon games. We'll see. It'd be nice.
Hey, Chronic. I don't know if he can hear us or not.
He should be able to hear you all now.
I'll be here.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Jim, it's going well, man. How are you?
I can't complain. Nobody gives a crap.
I hear you keep running into my boy Yorkie.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's kind of hard to keep a good man down.
He's living that COVID vaccine. Not vaccine. He got the antibodies. He had it this summer.
Yeah, I bet he's got the antibodies.
He's taking full advantage of that shit.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, give me a shot. I'm going to take a draw off of him, probably. Oh, he's a character.
Yeah, that he is. Indeed.
Yeah, you have to stop by one Sunday.
Tavern also features a $6.
Man, if I ever get out of here.
30 a.m. to 1
I know. I'm sure you said you're working your butt off.
I'm a whole week worth of shit in one day.
And a non-alcoholic
I hear
drink.
that.
Be part of the karaoke.
But that's a good problem to have, especially right now.
The West Side tradition for 50
You're not
years.
lying.
2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
You are
Today's
not
guest is
lying.
brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Down to my toes. But why does it always seem to me looking at you with you?
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat coming to you here on this Tuesday, and that means Chronic Hoosier, and he's with us now, sir. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Ready for Turkey Day here this week. Ready to get some basketball. Maybe started this week. Ready to see if the football team can kind of get back into their stride there after a real tough one over in Columbus this weekend.
Yeah, I was just talking to Kevin Brockway's with us here in the break. Northeastern just canceled games and practices for all winter sports through 12-18. John Pelfrey, the coach of Tennessee Tech, we saw that he's got COVID, but they're coming on up. So, yeah, we're trying to meander and navigate our way through this minefield of COVID, but I think that we're going to get through it somehow. But great to get basketball started tomorrow night, right before Thanksgiving. Couldn't be better timing.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I made note of this yesterday. It feels like COVID is picking up with basketball where it left off in March. With everything just kind of on a razor's edge. Will it happen? Will it not? Which is probably going to be par for the course. We've seen it starting to increase its impact in the football season. Week to week, every week, it seems like more teams, more games being affected by it. With basketball, you're talking about indoor sports, man. Teams are a little bit smaller, the groups are a little bit tighter, but you're talking about indoor sports now, and as we kind of anticipated, it's going to be bumpy. I mean, it's going to be absolutely bumpy. We'll see if the non-conference is even really plausible at this point. They seem to have their arms fairly well around what a conference regimen is going to look like. Big Ten's even going to employ their own referees exclusively and subject them to the same protocols that all the teams, all the players, the staffs are going to be held accountable to for testing and tracing and whatnot. But it's kind of the Wild West out there when it comes to some of these early season games. I kind of find it hard to imagine how a coach of a team can be positive and not put other people into quarantine. Obviously the tests are going to have to be done before they can play. But I was looking back at the timeline yesterday. Archie did his first radio show of the year, and looking at his comments about fingers crossed that they're able to make it up today. As he was referencing yesterday, yeah, you kind of got a hint maybe that perhaps Archie knew that this was something coming down the pipe, that it may or may not be able to happen. But I think we're probably going to see a whole lot more, not less, of that going forward. But I am so ready to see the boys back on the hardwood again, and for that matter, I'm ready to see the football team get a crack at Maryland, who's also coming off of a COVID issue, and we'll see if they can get enough bodies healthy to travel to Bloomington this week. But I feel like for both programs, this is one of those weekends where you would sure like to see them take a step forward in the right direction right now. And I think both of them, obviously, with IU basketball, doesn't have nearly as steep of a hill to climb, but nonetheless, you want to see them back out there. You want to put a W in the column, and more than anything with the basketball team, just want to get that season underway, man. I mean, it's Thanksgiving. We have not got a chance. We didn't even have a Hoosier Hysteria proper. We had a mega cut of some practice clips and some fun behind the scenes stuff with the guys, which I enjoyed. But I'm itching to hear the ball bouncing on the wood again.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just talking about the football program as they continue to move forward. You've got a Maryland team coming in that I think that Indiana should just go right through, but it's going to be interesting. Tagliavola has had a superb breakout season for him, but it's been a lot of fun watching this Indiana football team as they continue to grow, continue to achieve the crazy things that they're achieving, but they're not done, and the best is yet to come for them, I think. And it's fabulous to watch that program, the fan base. It always sucks that you can't have fans there to enjoy it, but you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it before. As tragic as it is that they're not there, that there's nobody there to share it with them. I continue to be just unbelievably impressed by the poise, by the energy that they're able to manufacture on their own. The resiliency that they showed in the second half last week. And I had text with a friend, and you've got to stop short of this moral victory crap. Because there is no such thing as moral victories in college athletics, or in life for that matter, realistically. But leaving that game upset that they let a win slip away. There were several opportunities where I felt like they could have put victory within reach. The pick six to end the third quarter, just absolute backbreaker. The fumble on the three that turned around and came back and turned what could have been a 21-14 halftime deficit into a 28-7. They had those opportunities in their hands and let them slip. And as frustrating as that is, it feels awful good, watching an Indiana football team stand toe to toe with one of the best teams in the land, the perennial dominant force in the Big Ten, and show to the world that this is a team that can compete with just about anybody on any given Saturday. And even when they got down, even when they made several back-breaking mistakes, they never stopped competing. And as an Indiana fan, I that's all I've ever hoped to see. It just makes you feel good that that this is the dream spot for this program right now. To be totally honest with you, I got into it with some folks on Twitter this weekend. We're going to talk about IU's historical precedent. None of that matters. The past didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Matters. This is a team that's heading for its 4th bowl game in the last 6 years. Now I'd like to see them win some of those bowl games. Don't get me wrong. But these are not your daddy's Hoosiers, man. And more than anything, this is just a fun group to watch. Coach Allen is showing the world what's attracted all these players to his program and what's brought the fan base together. Showing the world what Fred Glass saw in him when a lot of people were content just to bag on him as a high school coach. So you feel awful good for that squad, and knowing full well they're not done yet. They've got so much more potential to achieve that I'm just digging the ride and ready for the next step.
Also, second straight New Year's Day bowl game, and you're talking about. I mean, when was the last time Indiana was to a New Year's Bowl before Tom Allen? 1968, the Rose Bowl. So, I mean, I think the level of bowl games as well. You're talking about too is definitely a step up, and barring something unforeseen, you're talking about a team that's 7 or 8 wins this year and probably going back to Florida for a bowl game, maybe the Outback Bowl or Citrus Bowl at least.
Absolutely. I think they are headed there. Now we head towards basketball, Chronic. The season starts tomorrow night. Everyone's looking forward to that. Tennessee Tech coming in, of course. John Pelfrey, their coach, COVID, but nobody cares. Everybody was looking forward to having the basketball back and going and getting that started before the Thanksgiving holiday, like I said. And we got a question in on the text line from Ryan in Michigan. What do you think IU basketball needs to get over the hump? Is it an AJ Moye type player or someone to play with passion and willing to hold everyone accountable in a respectful way? That's from Ryan.
I think I need some dominant guard play. You've got an All-American candidate in Trace Jackson Davis inside. I think what this team needs, as well as possibly some more depth inside, they need guards that can score the basketball in a multitude of different ways. Scoring is ultimately how you win the game. And, that's an area this team struggled at. And, Coach Miller addressed it at the radio show last night. Feeling like Rob is in a position that we haven't seen him yet, healthy, experienced, a little wiser, a little more vocal in his leadership. Armand Franklin, you've got a lot of guys, without putting all the burden on the freshmen. You've got a large cast of characters in the backcourt that are going to have to make a leap. In their ability to create plays for other people and their ability to create plays on their own, and their ability to make stops and to knock down shots. We talk about how important an offensive line is playing in the Big Ten. We talk about how important quarterback play is. If you're going to win basketball games in this conference, you better have some damn good guards, and they better be able to bring it every night, because there's a whole lot of guards in this league. There's a whole lot of teams that have a number of different ways they can score the basketball on you, and being able to be strong in the backcourt position, especially in an Archie system. I mean, you get the sense he's been screaming for better leadership from his guards since he stepped foot on campus right now. So I feel like this is the year where you stand to see some pretty significant gains made in the backcourt.
Kevin,
I thought it was interesting, Chronic, in the radio show. He seemed to temper, Archie did seem to temper expectations about Christian Lander, talking about his age, obviously, and the physicality and him. Because when you talk about dynamic guard play, I mean, he projects to be the most dynamic guard in terms of what he can do, but it just doesn't seem like he's there yet based on what Archie was saying yesterday.
No, and you get the sense that that's always going to be expected. I mean, yes, Lander played, with Team USA. Yes, Lander is a 5-star recruit. Yes, all those things are true. But at the end of the day, he showed up here as a 17-year-old. Just the speed, the strength, the length, the differential between Indiana high school basketball and Big Ten basketball are honestly night and day difference. I mean, you talk to anybody that's made that jump, and it's a whole different ball game. Yes, the principles are the same, but the time compression is so much greater at this level. The ability of defenders to cover more area faster than what you've ever seen before, it can be a pretty significant adjustment for him. So, I think that was probably the plan all along, was to ease him in a little bit, not to necessarily make him the starting point guard from day one, kind of like we saw with Yogi when he showed up as a freshman, and at the end of the day too, you get the sense that if and when he ever does assume the role of a starting point guard on this team, it's going to be because he's earned it over Rob, quite frankly, and that's no small feat. So, naturally, I think this is the way generally you want to see your program work. You want to see guys come in and have to earn their way up top. Now, obviously, I think any coach in the country is going to take a plug and play 5-star. But quite frankly, there are so few kids in any given class that truly have the ability to step right in and not miss a beat when they make that leap to the next level. I think that should be the expectation for IU fans this year. But I also think, he's going to be capable of opening a lot of eyes along his journey. I just don't think you necessarily should expect to see him in that role from the start here.
Yeah, I think that would be completely unfair. I mean, like you said, he's 17 years old. I don't care who you are. That's still just young and body physically wise. And to come in against guys who have been in this system for 3-4 years, some of them who've been under Cliff Marshall for 3 or 4 years, they're going to beat the crap out of you. That's just life. But he'll get there, and I think he'll get there sooner than people think. It's not going to take an entire season, but I think it's going to take games. It's going to take games at this level, because this is not Evansville Reitz High School, and you cannot emulate that. You can't emulate the talent that you're going against until now. So the best way that he could do that is what he's doing now, and I think he'll come around. His talent is shown. He's a really, really good ball player, but you can't expect him just to step in and just to go. But I think he'll certainly get there, and Indiana's lucky to have him. It's exactly what they need. You hit the nail on the head. They've got to get better guard play because you've got to relieve Trace Jackson Davis. Otherwise, everybody's just going to be pounded in on him. And this is a league that has got tons and tons of great players on the interior this year.
No, absolutely. And I think, the biggest thing facing Lander right now is probably the defense. And I think that's an area where I look to see a lot of improvement as well. No differently than I need to see the guards be able to knock the ball down. I need to see a defense that's capable of disrupting some of the offensive actions they're faced with. And, we've seen players, especially those that carried over from the Crean era, that struggle. It takes a long time to get down the principles and the movements and the rhythm of Archie Miller's pack line defense. This is not something that's commonly coached at the high school level, at least not to the degree where you see Archie really trying to push these guys and the demands he puts upon them. And, time after time, I think of Demezi Anderson. He spent the bulk of his career here. Well, he had, I felt like he had a ton of potential. I felt like he spent a ton of time just kind of with just looking around, not sure where to go on the defensive end. And that's one thing we've seen throughout is Archie's just not going to tolerate that. You've got to be on the same page as everybody else. You're going to go sit back down. So I'd be curious to see what that looks like this year as well. This is a team that doesn't have a lot of expectations, although Trace is in the conversation for a lot of national awards right now. I think the writers pegged us pretty much in the middle of the conference, on the bottom end of the middle of the conference even. So more than anything, I think this is a big year for the team. This is a big year for the program, and quite frankly, for Archie Miller to defy some expectations and to overachieve a little bit here.
I agree, man. Big plans for Thanksgiving for Chronic and the crew?
I'll tell you what, man, I was just checking my tracking status right when you called in. I got a 53 quart steam pot coming. Normally I don't do Thanksgiving. I've been doing the Christmas meal now for about 5-6 years. But I still let my mother-in-law handle the turkey detail. And quite frankly, man, I wasn't ready to make that leap yet. I'm not trying to do a whole bird. We're not having a big house. So I made the executive decision. We've got some beef tenderloin fillets, and I got 10 pounds of crab legs we're going to steam up. So I am excited.
Oh, man.
That is good.
He's killing us. He's killing us here, man. You're killing me over here. That sounds so good.
You know, man, we were talking, and it's my feast, so it's going to be my menu. And I looked at my 11-year-old son. I'm like, "Well, sounds awesome." And we just got back from Florida like a month ago, and he said the highlight of the trip, we were 5 miles in either direction from this little shrimp house that had 2 locations, and they would steam fresh ball shrimp or snow crabs. And we did that every single day for lunch. We ate. We just had a seafood orgy. And he said, "Dad, I want to do that again." So I said, "You know what? That absolutely sounds amazing." So hoping Amazon Santa can get here on time with that big old steam pot. But I'm looking forward to it, man.
It sounds like it, man. We're jealous. Jealous.
I can tell you from living in Florida many years, I'm a seafood snob, Chronic. I'm like, I have to order my seafood at a coastal location. I can't have like the Red Lobster here. It has to be fresh, either in West Palm Beach or in Tampa area. A place called Keegan's does a really good grouper sandwich down in the Tampa Bay area. That's one of my favorite go-to spots.
That's been one of the biggest challenges as a parent in Bloomington, Indiana. Is I will not allow my children to believe that Red Lobster is a seafood place. It's a fire joint that's got some, that serves you biscuits with crack in them, but it is not a seafood restaurant, and I will never let them believe that. And they appreciate some walleye, they appreciate some perch, they appreciate some catfish, from the local waters, but. We took some liberties and had some legs flown in here, and we're gonna do it right, man. I mean, 2020 is weird in every way, shape, and form, so we just decided to embrace it, and we're gonna have our best day.
I can't wait to hear about it next week, man. I'm sitting there thinking about crab legs. I'll be thinking about it for a week. Happy Thanksgiving, man. I hope you guys have a great time, and let's go watch some football and basketball this week.
Let me tell you this too before I jump off. I actually justified that $120 pot by saying, you know what? It's not just this meal. Do you know how awesome Low Country Boils are going to be at the next tailgate we get to have together? I can't wait.
Go, man. I will be there for that. No doubt.
We're banking this one back for the lot, but we will catch you guys then, man. Happy Thanksgiving. Be well.
Johnny Kuzier joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, and we're back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the north.
Man, I could eat some crab legs right now.
I know.
God, I love crab legs. Son of a bitch.
Yeah. I got a pretty good family stuffing recipe, though. I'll talk about that next.
Hey, down in Louisville, there's a place called Clearwater Fine Foods.
Yep.
It's a seafood wholesaler. And the reason it's in Louisville is because of UPS's All Points World Headquarters is in Louisville.
Yeah, they have the plane.
They just fly that stuff in and fly it right out all over the country. Yeah. It's the world's largest man-made artificial ocean.
Yeah.
Inside of there, you can go in there and buy lobster for $7-8.
By the way, speaking of seafood, I got the worst food point. This is why another reason why I don't order. We would call it seafood in inland locations.
I hope this doesn't involve a bathroom story.
Lexington, Kentucky. No, got the worst food poisoning. Shrimp scampi. I was like puking on the flight all the way home.
You think that was an accident?
Lexington, Kentucky shrimp scampi. Never will again.
From what? Chili's or something?
No, it was my friend who lived there recommended it, and it was yeah. And I don't know why I ordered the shrimp scampi about 10 years ago. And I was like, I had the brown bag on the plane. I mean, it was awful.
Oh my God. That would be horrible. And could you imagine if that was now during COVID? They'd throw your ass off the plane.
Yeah,
they'd open the door and just kick you out. Like, you got to go.
Yeah, it was the worst. Yep.
Funny.
Never again. Don't order seafood in Lexington, Kentucky.
Seafood bastion of the world. I am hungry right now. This stupid thing. Why this thing won't charge, man?
When we're coming to your city.
Man, I was watching Bad Beats on Scott Van Pelt last night. I laughed so hard. I laughed. I cannot remember what game it was, but it was like a 39.5-point spread. The guy that's on there with him, I don't know his name, but he bet on this game. And so they're showing the highlights.
That one also features a $6
As
daily
we
lunch.
see this thing, the spread slowly just getting eaten away. They're in the end zone, and they throw a double, try to throw a double pass out of the end zone. And you can hear the guy in the background going, "What are we doing? We're throwing a double pass in the end zone. Are you kidding me?" I mean, it just
This
I
segment
was
is
crying, laughing.
pizza, burgers.
It's like there's, and then they intercept the ball to run it back to beat the. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat coming to you here on a Tuesday. Jim Coyle, Kevin Brockway sitting in from CNHI Papers. Been talking to Chronic Hoosier and Mike DeCourcy. We were sitting there talking to Kevin. Last night I was watching Bad Beats on Scott Van Pelt. I was laughing so hard. Abilene Christian or somebody, and they were like a 39.5-point underdog, and they're showing the highlights, and they've got the spread covered, and then you can just slowly see it just melting away, but how it was melting away was just nuts. They're in the end zone on one play, and they try to run a double pass, and the guy that's on there was Scott Van Pelt screaming, "What are we doing?" And then they a pick six to close the game to cover it. I'm like, are you kidding me? It was just funny. But that's, you want some entertainment. Watching those bad beats is funny because you're like, there's no way, because it would require this to happen. And then for that, and it's craziness. And then for that to happen, and it's every week. That's what makes college sports so much fun. I mean, every week you've got craziness like that. And betting, you don't have to be a bettor, but if you just follow the lines and watch those, sometimes that's just entertainment in and of itself, Kevin.
Yeah, the poor people suffering, and it's like I said, that's really rough if you've ever been on the other end of something like that. And hey, shout out to William for that rejoin music. I'm a big Genesis guy, and I saw he did That's All, and
he's always trying to sneak some good stuff.
He's sneaking in. I saw Genesis in concert 3 times growing up, and we're a Hall of Fame band, like one of the many.
Last week, or I forget what it was last week. I was like, ooh, that was a real good one. Gotta love it when you slide the good stuff in there. But man, it's got to be all kinds of fun games this weekend. You've got Thanksgiving football, and like I said, the Steelers normally do not play on Thanksgiving, but this is an added game because they're playing the Ravens, and those are two teams who definitely do not normally play on Thanksgiving. You've always got the Cowboys and the Lions, and that's how it should always been.
They started that about 10 or 15 years ago, that night Thanksgiving game, and I think they did it on the NFL Network, and now they're doing it on NBC. But that Steelers-Ravens, that'll be a black and blue matchup. And, the Ravens didn't do the Colts any favors by, losing that game in overtime to the Titans. That could have really helped the Colts out. And we have, obviously a big one this Saturday, Colts and Titans at Lucas Oil, the rematch for if the Colts can win that game, they'll be in really good shape as far as first in the AFC South. So,
and then the Big Ten, what's the schedule look like for that? Of course, we know Indiana is playing Maryland, which I don't see. Indiana's a 15-point favorite, which not surprising, but generally, you don't see Indiana listed as a 3. Well, it's a 2-score still, but the fact that they made it 15, Vegas is starting to have a lot of confidence in Indiana. Having a 3-touchdown underdog to Ohio State showed that they had 0 confidence. That's changed around. I think that the spreads you'll see on these IU games for the remainder of the year, they'll be a favorite this week. Of course, they'll be an underdog at Wisconsin. I think they'll be an underdog at Wisconsin, but they'll be a favorite against Purdue, and then they end the game year, which I think will end up being against Iowa. That's going to be interesting. Surely they'll get that one at home. There's no way they force Indiana to travel again. That would just be a travesty.
I'm wondering what, and the Big Ten still has been very quiet about this, what they're going to do, where they're going to play this crossover games. Because December 19th, I have this weird feeling that they're going to do the domes like around the country, kind of like what they did, and make it like one big festival, maybe.
You mean you don't think that they're going to have them on campus
sites? why, make it a little bit of a event, A, and B.
Too late, too much. There's too much logistics into that for this year. There's no way with all the COVID problems to go to an arena that you're not familiar with, and it would just be way too easy.
Well, you're going there for the Big Ten title game, maybe do it all in Indy or something like that. But I don't know, but I just think it's going to be December 19th if you're playing outside. I mean, it's going to be really.
Now, I think what you could have done, and I think this would have been a fantastic idea. The weekend of the Big Ten championship, you do have a freaking football festival in Indianapolis over 2 days and maybe 3 days. I mean, you don't want to bleed into the NFL Sunday, but hell, go Thursday, Friday, Saturday if you want to, or Friday, Saturday. You probably need to do 3 days, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, those, of course, nobody's going to care about the 13 playing 14 and 11 playing 12 of those games. Nobody's going to give a crap, but those top 5 games, those would be some good games there. So, man, you could do an entire festival, like you said. That would be fantastic. I think they should start. You can't do it every year, but man, wouldn't that be fun to do that every year?
Yeah, no, I think that would be. I think that'd be pretty cool to do it that way. But it didn't. Like I said, we'll see how that plays out. Just got an email from my boss, and this is something that when you look at the Ohio State game, 307 to -1. I mean, that's what really did it, right? The running game, and I think that's part and parcel to Indiana's early offensive struggles, Jim. I just think that, you try to establish a run early and it's just not there. And, Nick Sheridan calls a lot of those inside zone plays early, those kind of dives into the line for those 1-yard gains. But I'm starting to wonder about, Stevie Scott and Samson James. And what do you do there? I mean, do you stick with Stevie Scott? He's your veteran guy. Now, he's your best pass blocker. And I think that's what coaches trust. But Samson James had a couple of runs in cuts and, 3 carries for 10 yards. I mean, what do you do about the running situation? And is it blocking? Is it a change in running back? Nick Sheridan said yesterday he's going to explore all options.
Well, for everything that I'm hearing when we talk to the coaches, I mean, they're not going to come out and say that, but it appears to be the line. But I like Stevie Scott, but Stevie Scott has never done I think he's a solid running back. But he does not have burst. He does not have speed. He does not have breakaway capability because he's never done it. In the 3 years here, he's never done it. So you can't tell me you've never had an opportunity. You create opportunities. And I think he's a solid back, a really good back, but he does not give Indiana the burst that they need. Now, I understand that they need some better blocking to open up some better holes, but sometimes you create that. When you're good enough, you create that. And to not see that ever get created, it really makes you wonder that he's not quite there. Samson James, I think he's got that potential burst of speed. We've seen him run out some 10, 12, 15 yarders. I don't know that if he gets the opportunity, does that continue? But yeah, I think they got to try something different. Why not? I mean, they don't really need to now because everything is fine, but to go up a level to beat the Ohio States. Yeah. Can you imagine if you'd have had a solid running game that day?
It doesn't seem like they do much on the perimeter. And I don't know if that's the blocking scheme too, but you don't see those kind of like toss sweeps, or you don't see those kind of jet sweep plays. And, maybe David Ellis is the other intriguing guy here too. And he was used a lot in the passing game. Looked like he did last year as the receiver and made some good plays. Obviously he had the costly fumble too, where he kind of took a hard hit, but he's another guy too. Like maybe you get him on some sweeps or you do some things with him. I just think they need to be a little more creative running the football and early in the game, not just these, inside zone runs. You got to do some different things too. I think it's a combination of a lot of different factors, but Maryland, I think with their defense, this is a game that you should be able to run on them a little bit. And I think Purdue is another team, bad run defense. Wisconsin, we'll see because they're a little more physical. But through these last 3 games, you should be able to establish a run a little more. And as the weather gets colder, you're going to need to do that.
Yeah, Joker hit us up on the text line and that very thing. He says Maryland will be a tough game. It seems to me that the IU defense struggles against quarterbacks who scramble and run. Just my observation. Fields hurt IU and everything broke down, and he had to scramble and turned most likely a loss into a positive. Yeah, and Tulia Tagliavola is a great quarterback, but he is not Justin Fields. Justin Fields, man, they could not get him down. They sacked him 5 times and could have sacked him 5 more had they just been able to get him down. He's just a great quarterback. Now, but Tagliavola, he's elusive too, but he's got a good arm. So, yeah, I think that there's going to be some bend in that, but Indiana's defense is just top to bottom. They're good. Maryland is not the team that is going to get it over on Indiana, and I think that getting pressure back there changes things as well. A lot of times they're playing teams that are not pressuring Tagliavola, so we'll see how that goes. But it's going to be interesting to see if Indiana can use this week to bolster that running game, Kevin. They've got to start working on it. You're going to need it against teams like Wisconsin as the season goes on, and to beat the big-time opponent that you're going to end up with in a bowl game. I think very well Indiana could likely end up in the Citrus Bowl against a very high-profile team. So you got to have a complete balanced attack to be an elite team.
Yeah, and don't forget Clifford. Had a big scramble too in Penn State in that first game of the season. They did a pretty good job containing Milton and Vedral, and Michigan State didn't really have mobility in their starting quarterback. Their backup quarterback, if you remember, he had a big run in that game also. So yeah, I think that point's well taken, and I kind of asked Tom Allen about that on Monday, and Paulie is going to present some troubles. I watched him in that Minnesota game where he brought him all the way back, and the kid can throw the ball pretty well too. So it'll be interesting. But I do think this Indiana defense is will have something, a little bit of a chip on their shoulder after what happened to Ohio State. And man, the one thing is the takeaways, 15 takeaways this year. I'm going to write about that today. By far and away leads the Big Ten, and they got a lot of energy off that. And the secondary is just in terms of the ball hawking and the secondary playing at a really high level.
Indiana picked off one of the leading Heisman Trophy candidates 3 times. As many times as he'd been picked off in his entire career. So, yeah, it goes right along with it. Hey, we got a lot more coming up. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from hole number 6 here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Kevin Brockway and Jim Coyle back with more right after this.
The Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
What are you doing the rest of the day?
Corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's.
Well, we got football and basketball Zoom calls. I'm going to be pretty jammed.
I'm not doing the football. When's basketball today? Golly.
3:30.
Oh yeah, that's the.
Yeah. I might just I may go up and see Sharon tonight. We'll see. She's taking care of her mom. Her mom had knee replacement surgery, so she came in early. So
Sharon has invaded this conversation many times. I know what's on your mind.
Yeah. You're a funny guy, Coyle.
Funny guy. How do I amuse you? Do I amuse you do I amuse you like a clown?
Are you a clown?
Oh man. Oh, here we go. What? Oh, come on, man. All right, let's see. How about Nebraska? Scott Frost is the next Jim Harbaugh.
Worse than that.
Oh, and how about this matchup? Penn State at Michigan. What do you call that? The toilet bowl? Minnesota's at Wisconsin.
Leroy's Tavern also features our daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be
Where
part
do
of the
you get 'em?
karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat. Coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. Man, you hear that? I can think of the cable guy. Think of Jim Carrey in the movie. Remember that? He was singing there when he's doing the Mr. Yeah, and he was doing all the karaoke. You're Kevin's Mr. Karaoke, by the way. He is Mr. Karaoke.
I've been missing it, man. In this COVID era, you can't do karaoke, obviously.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, I bet. Oh, what are you doing? Yeah,
I've been singing in the shower, singing at home, man. It's been rough. Yeah, it's been rough, but you got to do the responsible thing. We gotta get to spring and hopefully the vaccine gets distributed and we can get over this whole situation, right?
Big Ten football this weekend. Nebraska at Iowa. Man, Scott Frost is the new Jim Harbaugh. What? Big whining, complaining about his schedule, and he just gets his butt kicked by everybody. Things are not looking, they can't be really happy in Lincoln.
Yeah, no, it's not looking good, and especially you lose at home to Illinois, a team that you should beat. You have more talent than you thought coming off that Penn State win, you could get some momentum there, but man, it's just it's rough. The favorite son goes home. It's the same thing with Harbaugh, favorite son. And how about Harbaugh? You get this double overtime win over Rutgers in Piscataway, and listen, and Greg Schiano has a team playing hard. They're starting to believe in themselves a little bit, and they could be a team that could be a factor in the East in a few years. But you're Harbaugh, you're celebrating like you won the national championship. I mean, come on, it's Rutgers in Piscataway, New Jersey. Come on, give me a break.
That may be the only excitement he has this season.
Yeah,
very well. But now this week you got Penn State and Michigan. Normally that would be must-see TV, big time. That's for last place. That's the nobody cares bowl. It's amazing.
A lot of problems in Happy Valley too. I'm sure you saw the James Franklin story as well. My colleague Elton Hayes is on that story, and with regards to perhaps covering up or not reporting a crime a couple of years ago involving an assault. It's getting pretty ugly there. For James Franklin. And that has been, amazing to think that breakthrough win for Indiana against Penn State, what it's done to that program in the span of a couple of months. But I think what you're going to see, Jim, is you're going to see a year from now some revisionist history and a lot of these power programs saying, oh, well, we had to deal with COVID, and these guys opted out, and that's why we struggled and so forth. You're going to hear a lot of that next year if there's a Big Ten Media Days next year in Chicago.
And I'll listen to none of it.
Narratives and storylines, but next year will be the proof of the pudding to see if Penn State and Michigan can somehow regroup.
Michigan will not have. I do not see Jim Harbaugh in Ann Arbor next year. Maybe on his own accord, they're not going to fire him. But why? Why would you want to come back and go through that? The fans, they're done. He's shown it's not getting done there. You've been there long enough. These are all your guys. The program is trending downward. So you're going to wait for a turnaround from a guy who's driven the plane into the mountain? Yeah, I don't see that one coming, but we'll see.
Ohio State, though? That's the thing, Jim. Where's Harbaugh going to go? I think that's the big question. NFL. But his stock is pretty low right now. Who's going to take him? That's what I wonder. I mean,
there's always somebody. The New York Jets. You're telling me the Jets wouldn't take Jim Harbaugh?
I think they
right now they'll take him right now.
They hired a fired guy in Adam Gase, or a guy that was, I don't know if the fan base would even accept that, and I don't know if, or maybe the Chicago Bears. He played there. If they get rid of Nagy, I don't know. Maybe one of those two teams would, but I wonder. I really do. I wonder where he would go.
Yeah. As well. Ohio State gets a break. They have a bye week. They're playing Illinois. Let's see. Actually, Illinois looked good last week. They wow, that was a surprising win in Lincoln over Nebraska for them. Let's see. Minnesota, Wisconsin. Mentioned that one. I don't know how. I don't know. Wisconsin's, man, they've been without a lot of guys due to COVID, but Minnesota, they got gifted that win last week. How about that pass interference call in the Purdue game? Was that just?
It was ridiculous.
That official needs to be sat down. Seriously. Yeah. They never, there's no ramifications for these guys. There's no one holds them accountable, at least not to our knowledge. Why does everybody else get publicly whatever? But these officials who cost people money, who cost people jobs, who change outcomes of things that kids work hard for, never held accountable.
Yeah. I will say this, though, that Purdue, Dellinger missed a couple of chip shots in that game.
Oh, yeah.
He had one field goal blocked. Purdue is down about 15 or 20 guys. You have Rondale Moore back. If you're Jeff Brown, I know it's on the road, but go and blow the doors off that team. You know what I mean? Don't make it that close. And I think don't put it like, Jimmy Johnson said that after the Cleveland Gary fumble, in 1988, Miami Notre Dame. He pointed out on film that they got jobbed on that fumble call, but he said, I told you guys not to leave it in the hands of officials, not to make it that close.
Let's see. Northwestern, a big win over Wisconsin last week. Let's see. They take on Michigan State this week. It'll be another win for them. Northwestern's probably going to end up winning the Big Ten West. Iowa's the best team in the West, I think, right now. I think they're playing the best, but Northwestern is going to end up playing in the Big Ten Championship. Peyton Ramsey is probably going to play in the Big Ten Championship.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I think that defense is really the story there. And Pat Fitzgerald, what a job after last year. But it tells you the difference if you have the right quarterback for your team. Because we saw all year last year with Northwestern. Hunter Johnson, Aiden Smith, they just did not have the guy under center that could, lead that offense and actually hurt the defense because they had a lot of turnover guys at that position. Peyton Ramsey's going to take care of the ball, and that he's going to make plays every now and then. He's not as dynamic as Michael Penix, and that's why, Tom Allen made the decision he did, and he was right. He saw it in practice. But, Peyton Ramsey is a guy that with the right team is, the quote-unquote game manager, the guy that's going to, win you a lot of games if you have, a complimentary team around you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. I think we're going to do the post-game show tomorrow night, as a matter of fact. IU basketball, we probably doing that from Yogi's as always. Just kind of getting with COVID, we're scrambling to see what we're going to do, how we're going to do that. Everybody's been asking about that, so we're planning on doing that. We'll get that information out to you. But and I'm catching some flack for Tagliavola's last name. It's so hard. I had Don Fisher on here yesterday, and we were talking about that. I'm like, oh man, just think if CO Nafoa sacks Tulia Tunga Vailoa. That's it. Keith, I think that's one of it. Tunga Vailoa.
Tunga Vailoa.
It's Tunga Vailoa. Here we go. Yeah, got busted on that one. But yeah, it's so funny. But man, can you imagine being the radio guy if CO on the phone go to Totoa for Indiana is sacking Tulia Tunga Vailoa? And you're having to call that in fast action.
I do not envy Don Fisher's job. So you fired up for basketball tomorrow, or opener, or what? It just feels kind of weird in this COVID environment.
Yes, it's kind of snuck up. I was like, oh crap, tomorrow's that first game. Yeah, it's way different. I think not having Hoosier hysteria for people, that's the jump start. That's the boom. That's bam. That's pulling the cork and watching all the confetti fly out, and it didn't happen. And oh well, it'll get going.
I'll be interested to see the player rotations. He said yesterday in the radio show that he's going to play about 8. He said he felt like he played too many guys last year. So it'll be interesting to see pared down who plays, who doesn't, who the guys are that he's going to count on, because it's going to come quickly next week where you're playing some high-level opponents, beginning with Providence and maybe Texas, and maybe even North Carolina in that third game if you get it that far. Alabama, who has a pretty good team in its second year under Nate Oates. So this will be an important little tune-up to get ready for the big tournament next week in North Carolina.
Yeah, Archie usually does play a lot of guys early. We saw that last year. He lets everybody go out there and gives them some rope, and we'll see that tomorrow night against Tennessee Tech. Surely, we'll see everybody. I think you'll see everybody get out there and get some minutes and get a taste of it. And kind of, I don't want to call it a mini Hoosier hysteria, but it's Tennessee Tech. They don't even have their head coach. So, yeah, this should be a great tune-up, but we should get to see everybody play. Looking forward to it. Kevin, I can't thank you enough for joining us, brother. Appreciate it. I hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. Any shout-out real quick, Kevin?
Yeah, just going to work on my stuffing recipe there. I got a little pecans and, eggs and all that good stuff, craisins, all that good stuff jumbled into one, and get ready to
Enjoy it.
Get it going.
Yep. Have a good one. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll look forward to it. Look forward to doing it again next week. But everybody else, we'll be back tomorrow. Looking forward to that. I hope you go out and have a great day. Do something nice for somebody. Please wear your mask. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
All righty.
Wow. That's perfect. 126.